Surprise, we got a brand new Unearthed Arcana. This time, we're getting new spells and magical tattoos. There's a whole bunch of pet-based spells and some really cool options with the magic tattoos. So if you want to see what those are and my thoughts on them, stay tuned. So I did a very quick perusal of it, but for the most part, you and I are going to go into this blind together and read it as we go. One thing I can say, don't get too excited about the magic tattoos. They count like a magic item, and they require attunement, or at least some of them do, so that's a bummer. All right, so here we are on the Wizards of the Coast website, in case anything gets taken down. You never know anymore. Here it is. Let's take a look. There are several spells. There are no cantrips, and they seem to span the majority of the spectrum of classes, right? We have one for Bard, some Druid, Cleric, out of alphabetical order wizards, who does your alphabetizing. All right, but that's fine. Paladin, Ranger, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. They seem to have, a lot of them seem to be about summoning spirits or elementals, so that makes me wonder what we're looking at seeing in the near future, if the next module or something we're going to get is going to be tied to something like that. So, first up we have Acid Stream, a first level invocation. It is a 30-foot line centered on you. No crazy components. Concentration up to a minute. A stream of acid emanates from you in a line 30 feet long and 5 feet wide in a direction that you choose. That means it could be up to, if you wanted. Each creature in the line must make a dexterity saving throw, or be covered in acid for the spell's duration, which is up to a minute as long as you can concentrate on it, or until they use an action to scrape or wash the acid off themselves or another creature. Creature covered in this acid takes 3d4 acid damage at the start of each of its turns. When you cast this spell using spell slot of second level or higher, it goes up by a d4. So it's actually interesting. It doesn't take the damage immediately. It only takes the damage at the start of their turns. But it could, as long as you can maintain concentration on it, it could be taking 3d4 acid damage, no save, every turn. Because it makes the one save at the start. And if it fails, it just takes the damage. So it's one save, and then potentially 30d4 damage if it manages to maintain it every turn. And as a first level spell, that's pretty good. I mean, I think there's other spells that do more damage. But remember, this is also a line, so you can hit multiple enemies with this. This is available to the Wizard and the Sorcerer only. Well, that's kind of a bummer. All right. Next up, we have Otherworldly Form. This is a 6th level transmutation spell. It does require an object engraved with a symbol of the outer planes worth at least 500 gold. Concentration up to a minute. Uttering an incantation, you draw on the magic to the lower planes or the upper planes, your choice, and you gain one of the following benefits. You are immune to fire and poison if you choose the lower planes, or radiant necrotic if you choose upper. Immune to poison condition on the lower, charmed on the upper. Spectral wings appear on your back, giving you a fly speed of 40 feet. You have a +2 bonus to AC. All your weapon attacks are magical, and when you make a weapon attack, you can use your spellcasting ability modifier instead of strength or dex for the attack damage rolls, and you can attack twice instead of once when you take the attack action on your turn. You ignore this benefit if you already have features like extra attack that give you an extra attack. So this is a 6th level spell. It is available to wizards, warlocks, sorcerers, and clerics. That's cool. This could be a really useful spell for a cleric, especially because it's up to 1 minute. Clerics can... no cleric is going to have extra attack. They can have things that give them like bonus action attacks, but they may end up actually being martial in nature and having good weapon proficiencies and things like that. So their attack being now able to use their wisdom modifier, if you know, I mean, obviously you don't want to plan for a 6th level spell unless you're starting at, was it 11th level? But that's something to think about, and it gives you basically extra attack. Very cool. Next up is Spirit Shroud. This is a 3rd level necromancy. It's a bonus action, which is nice. Concentration up to a minute. Call forth the spirits of the dead, which fit around your spells. Oh, I should go back. Otherworldly Form also reminds me sort of Tensor's Transformation. It has the same kind of vibe to it, but it's more... it's less just turning a wizard pretty much specifically into a tank as to making giving the potentially squishy but spellcaster type more martial capabilities. All right. Spirit Shroud. Bonus action, concentration up to a minute. Call forth spirits of the dead which flit around you for the spell's duration. They're intangible and invulnerable, and they're good or evil, your choice. Until the spell ends, any attack you make, deals an extra 1d8 damage, extra damage, rather, when you hit a creature within 10 feet of you. The damage is radiant if the spirits are good, or necrotic if they're evil. Any creature that takes this damage can't regain hit points until the start of your next turn. Very nice. In addition, any creature of your choice that you can see that starts its turn within 10 feet of you has its speed reduced by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. So I like that it's out to 10 feet, because that means that polearm wielding people can theoretically use it, but who can use Spirit Shroud? Well, not bards, and not druids. Clerics can. Paladins can. That's what all I was looking for. It seemed a paladin-y type spell. So that works. And then warlocks can use it too, which is nice. And so can wizards, but not sorcerers or rangers. All right, interesting choice. All right, well, so it works out to 10 feet, which means, again, like I said, it can work with polearms. So it's going to deal the damage. They can't regain hit points when they're hit by it. And any creature of your choice that starts to turn within 10 feet of you while this is up for a minute can have their speed reduced. There's no reason that you couldn't pick the creature you're also hitting if you want to try to keep them close by. And you can upcast it to add a d8 for each slot above third. All right, now we're going to get into these summon spirit spells. These are pretty much, I think, the rest of the spells here are summon different kinds of spirits. So 4th level, summon Aberrant Spirit. 4th level, Conjuration. Requires a material component of Pickled Tentacle and an eyeball and crystal vial worth at least 400 gold. Range to 90 feet, concentration for up to an hour. You call forth a spirit from the far realm. Manifest, it's corporeal. When you cast it, choose Beholderkin, Slotty, or Starspawn. The creature physically resembles your choice, which also determines some of its traits in the stat block. It disappears when it drops to 0 hit points or when the spell ends. It is friendly to you and your companions for the duration. In combat, it shares your initiative count, but it takes its turn immediately after yours. It obeys verbal commands that you issue. If you don't issue any, it defends itself. Otherwise, it takes no action. 5th level or higher. The creature assumes the higher level. The creature assumes the higher level for that casting whenever it uses the spell's level in its stat block. What? All right, let's read the stat block and we'll come back. So, okay. Armor class is 11 plus the level of the spell, so that would increase if you upcast. Hit points, Constitution modifier plus spellcasting modifier plus 10 times the spell's level. Okay. 30-foot fly, 30-foot movement speed, 30-foot fly if it's a Beholderkin only. Immunity to psychic, dark vision, deep speech, it understands languages you speak. If it's a Slotty, it gets regeneration. It gains 10 hit points at the start of its turn as long as it has 1 hit point. If it is a Starspawn, at the start of each of its turns, each creature within 5 feet of it must make a Wisdom saving throw against your save DC or take 3d6 psychic damage. And then it has multi-attack. It makes a number of attacks equal to half the spell's level rounded down. There's another spell level piece. If it's a Beholder kin, it gets Eye Rays, which are ranged spell attack 3 plus the spell's level to hit, range of 30 feet. Does a d8 plus 3 plus the spell's level in psychic damage. Slotty has claws, same thing to hit, 3 plus the spell's level. Does a d10 plus 3 plus the spell's level in slashing damage. If the target is a creature, it can't regain hit points until the start of the aberration's next turn. It's starting to seem like Slotty's the way to go, right? Regen and shut down healing. And then Psychic Slam for the Starspawn. 3 plus the spell's level to hit, a d6 plus 3 plus the spell level's psychic damage. I guess I should also consider that the Starspawn does potential consistent damage with its Whispering Aura. Alright, well that was the Aberrant version. Let's look at the Beast version. Oh, I should say Aberrant Spirit is, okay, Wizard, Sorcerer, Warlock can summon that. Okay, that makes sense. Alright, next up is Beastial Spirit, level 2. We've got a material component of 200 gold, concentration up to an hour, call form a beast. Corporeal form. Choose air, land, or water. It physically resembles an animal of your choice that is native to that environment. It lasts until it's gone. I'm going to skip over this part because it's going to basically be the same for all of them. It's friendly. It acts on your turn, but immediately after yours, and then it obeys verbal commands you issue, and it'll just defend itself. For this one, at higher level, if you cast a spell, the creature assumes the higher... Okay, so that seems to be the thing as well, right? If you cast it out of a higher level, the things that are keyed off of the level you cast it at increase accordingly. So, Beastial Spirit. Small beast unaligned. AC is 11 plus the spell level, hit points. Con mod plus spellcasting ability modifier plus 10 times the spell's level. 30-foot movement, 30-foot climb if it's on land, 60-foot fly if it's in the air, 30-foot swim if it's in the water. Then we have amphibious water only flyby. Oh, it gets flyby if it's an air creature, so that means it doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity if it flies in. And land and water both, to make up for the fact that they don't get flyby, get pack tactics, which is pretty sweet. Multi-attack, number of attacks equal to half the spell's level rounded down. It does a maul attack, 4 plus the spell's level to hit, a d8 plus 4 plus the spell level in piercing damage. All right, Celestial Spirit. I believe this, I know, is the Cleric and the Paladin. Not by anybody but... Oh, okay, Paladin, Celestial. Yeah, Paladin and Cleric can get the Celestial Spirit. Okay, 90 feet, 500 gold piece material component. Okay, creature of the upper planes, corporeal. Choose an Avenger or a Defender when you cast the spell. Let's get to the stat block. All right. Same thing. Hit points and AC seem to be the same as well. 11 plus the spell's level, and then the hit points are the con mod plus your spell casting mod plus 10 times the spell's level. It has a 30-foot fly speed. It is resistant to radiant damage and immunity to charm and feared. It has a number of attacks equal to the spell's level, half the spell's level rounded down. The Avenger gets a radiant bow, which has a range of 150, 600. 2 plus the spell's level and does 2d6, plus 2 plus the spell's level and radiant damage. The Defender gets a radiant mace. It's 3 plus the spell's level to hit, a d10 plus 3 plus the spell's level and radiant damage, and it can choose itself or another creature within 10 feet of the target. The chosen creature gains temporary hit points equal to the damage dealt, provided it doesn't already have temp HP, and once per day, a healing touch. Target magically regains hit points equal to 2d8 plus the spell's level. All right, so the starting spell level for this is 5. So you got to think about it this way too. With this particular spell, you could cast this spell and then you'll get consistent damage and tanking and things from the enemy, or from the creature, which is great. But you'll also get basically the equivalency of a second level cure wounds out of it too, as long as you keep it around. Alright, so after that is Summon Elemental Spirit, which looks like that's going to be Wizard, no Warlock, so Wizard, Sorcerer, and Druid. Okay. Elemental Spirit. 400 gold piece material component, choose air, fire, water, or earth. Same everything else, same hit points and AC. Alright, then it has resistance to lightning and thunder damage if it's air, piercing and slashing if it's earth, acid if it's water. They all have immunity to poison. The fire has immunity to poison, and exhaustion, paralyzed, petrified, poison, and unconscious immunity. Amorphous form for air, fire, and water. They can move through a space of up to 1 inch. And then same hit points, number of attacks equal to the spell's level rounded down. Reminder, this is a 4th level spell. So Slam, I think it all has just a slam attack for all of them. Plus 4, plus the spell's level to hit. Does a d10 plus 4 plus the spell's level in bludgeoning damage for air, earth, and water, or fire damage for the fire elemental. Now we have the Fey Spirit. I believe this is the only one the Bard can get, is the Fey Spirit. Okay, wizards can get Fey Spirit, warlocks can get Fey Spirit, sorcerers can get Fey Spirit. Interesting that the paladin, the ranger can't. The druid gets Fey Spirit, as does the bard. So, Fey Spirit. You get to choose deceitful, furious, or joyful. Okay, immunity to charm. Can magically teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space it can see. If you go Deceitful, immediately after using... Oh, it's like an Eladrin. Immediately after using its phase step, it can fill a 5-foot cube with 5 feet of magical darkness, which remains until the end of its next turn. If you choose Joyful, immediately after a phase step, it can choose a creature it can see within 10 feet and force it to succeed on a wisdom save against your spell save DC or be charmed by it for 1 minute. Charm ends if the Fae or any of its creatures damage a target. Or a Furious one, immediately after it, the Fae has advantage on the next attack roll it makes before the end of its next turn. And then it has, again, multi-attack like all of them do, and the Short Sword, +3 plus the spell levels to hit, a d6 +3 plus the spell's level and piercing damage, plus an additional d6 force damage. And I think the only 2 left are... Oh, there's 3. Fiendish, Shadow, and Undead. So Fiendish can be Wizard, Warlock only? Really? Yeah, Wizard and Warlock. Okay. Fiendish. You're going to choose Devil, Demon, or Yaklul. Makes sense? Alright, all that's good. The alignment obviously will shift. Resistance to fire, immunity to poison in the poison condition, advantage on saving throws against spells. Reminder, this is a 6th level spell to cast it. If it's a demon, it gets death throws. When it drops to 0 hit points or the spell ends, it explodes. Any creature within 10 feet of it must make a dex save or take 2d10 plus the spell's level and fire damage, or half on a success. The Devil can see in magical darkness. And then it has multi-attack. And Demon gets a bite, which does 3 plus the spell's level to hit, a d12 plus 3 plus the spell's level in necrotic damage. The Yugoloth gets Claws, which does 3 plus the spell's level to hit, a d8 plus 3 plus the spell's level in slashing. But immediately after the attack hits or miss, it can magically teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space it can see. Or the Devil can hurl a flame, which is a ranged attack, out to 150 feet. Same to hit, but 2d6 plus 3 plus the spell's level in fire damage. If it is if the target is a flammable object that isn't being carried or worn, it is also catches fire. All right, last 2 here. I'm just going to tell you what they are now. Shadow and Undead. Let's see. Wizard gets both. Surprisingly, no one here. Warlock gets both. And Sorcerer gets Shadow. And nobody else gets Undead. So, okay. So, here we go. Where are we? Shadow Spirit. Okay, we choose Shadow Spirit's a 3rd level. Fury, Despair, or Fear. Resistant to Necrotic, immune to Frightened. If you choose Fury, Bloodthirsty Frenzy, advantage on attack rolls against frightened creatures, which is nice. If you choose Stealth, or sorry, the Fear only gets Shadow Stealth. It can hide in dim light or darkness as a bonus action. Or Despair, it gets the Weight of Ages. Any beast or humanoid other than you that starts its turn within 5 feet of it has its speed reduced by 20 feet until the start of the beast or humanoid's next turn. Multi-attack, looks like it's the same for all of them. Chilling Rend, +3 plus the spell's level to hit, 2d8 plus 3 plus the spell's level and cold damage, and a Dreadful Scream once a day. Each creature within 30 feet of it must make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC or be frightened for 1 minute. The frightened creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of its turn, ending on a success. And lastly, the Undead Spirit, which is Ghostly, Putrid, or Skeletal. This is a 3rd level spell, as is Shadow Spirit. So it is immune to necrotic and poison, immune to exhausted, frightened, paralyzed, and poisoned, and has incorporeal movement if it's a ghost, which it can become incorporeal while moving and pass through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. If it ends its turn inside an object, it is shunted to the nearest unoccupied space and takes a d10 force damage. If it's putrid, it gets a festering aura. Any creature other than you that starts its turn within 5 feet of the undead must make a con save or be poisoned until the start of its next turn. It has multi-attack and then 3 different options. Deathly Touch for the ghost, +3 to hit plus the spell level. 1d8 plus 3 plus the spell level necrotic damage. They must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be frightened until the end of their next turn. Grave Bolt for the skeletal is a range of 150 feet, +3 plus the spell levels to hit. 2d8 plus 3 plus the spell level's necrotic damage. or Rotting Claw for the putrid version, +3 plus the spell level to hit, a d6 +3 plus the spell's level and slashing damage. If the target is poisoned, it must make a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC, or be paralyzed until the end of its next turn. Whew. All right, that is all of the new spells. I think they probably heard a clamoring about the lack of summoning and conjuration spells, so they made a whole bunch of conjuration spells, which is cool. I like that. I like the concept of a lot of them. I think they have a lot of cool stuff. I like the idea of the Beastial Spirit for a ranger. I think that that's pretty sweet. I really like the Spirit Shroud spell for paladins and for clerics. Acid Stream, I'd love to try it in a game because I think it could be really fun. And then anything else that lets a wizard or somebody that's typically a caster do melee stuff like Tensor's Transformation or Otherworldly Form, I am a fan of. Also remember that any of these spells, in theory, if they became published, could be something a bard could choose as a magical secret. Let's talk magic tattoos. All right, so the only kind of restriction they have is the amount of skin that you can have. Magic tattoos are not something new. We've seen these before. They've been in previous editions. I've seen a ton of homebrew. They were in Critical Role. It's all over the place, right? So it's a common magic tattoo takes up an area up to 6 inches. An uncommon is half a limb or your scalp. Rare is 1 limb. Very rare is 2 limbs or the chest or upper back. And legendary is 2 limbs and the torso. So you're really only limited to how much space on your body that allows you to get these tattoos. But as I said, some of them seem to be attunement, which is a bummer, which I was hoping you're going to go through the effort of getting potentially half of your body tattooed, but you still have to attune to it, which also poses the, can I unattune to my own body's tattoo, and then I just have a tattoo with no magic? I guess in theory. And they also bring up a point that it doesn't have to be tattoos, it could be any kind of body modification, right? If it's scarification or branding or, piercings, whatever. So, Absorbing Tattoo is a very rare. It requires attunement. While it's on your skin, you have resistance to a damage type associated with that color, as shown on the table below. The DM chooses the color or determines it randomly. So you can see here they are: resistance to acid, cold, fire, force, lightning, necrotic, poison, psychic, radiant, or thunder. When you take damage of your chosen type, you can use your reaction to gain immunity against that instance of damage, and you regain a number of hit points equal to half the damage you would have taken. So that's kind of one of the first ones I saw, and I was like, okay, it's attunement, but that's pretty badass. It's resistance, potential immunity, and healing once per till dawn. And here we go, tattoo attunement. To attune to this item, you hold the needle to your skin where you want the tattoo to appear, pressing the needle there throughout the attunement process. When the attunement is complete, the needle turns into the ink that becomes the tattoo, which appears on the skin. If you have multiple magic tattoos... benefit. Here we go. If you have multiple magic tattoos, they count as a single magic item with regard to the number of magic items you can attune to. If your attunement to the tattoo ends, the tattoo vanishes, the needle reappears in the closest unoccupied space to you. Okay, so that's cool. Now I have less of an issue with it, because if I can I can tap my whole body up, right? In theory, right? Get my scalp, my chest, and both my arms and 2 legs, and I can be pretty tatted up, and it counts just as one item. All right, so next we have the Barrier Tattoo. This varies in its rarity, and it is attunement. Protective imagery and uses ink that resembles liquid metal. Grants you basically an armor class. So uncommon version is 12 plus your dexterity modifier, basically giving you the equivalent of studded leather armor. Rare gives you 15 plus your dexterity modifier, a maximum of +2, which is essentially like half plate that doesn't have disadvantage on stealth. Or very rare, which is 18. The benefit of this from looking at it is you get this armor class. You do not have to wear armor, and you do not have disadvantage on stealth. Now, I know what you're thinking, and we're going to get there in a second, but let's keep looking, right? To hold this item, I'm going to assume this is the same, but you touch the needle. When the attunement is complete, the needle turns into the ink, appears on your skin, counts as a single magic item. So here's where it says rule tip: AC calculations don't stack. What that means, folks, is if you do this, you can't be a monk with a barrier tattoo of very rare that gives you a base AC of 18 and then add your dexterity modifier and then add your wisdom modifier on top of it. It does not work like that, right? It is giving you an armor class. It's not technically counting as armor. So in theory, you could wear things like bracers of defense, and that would boost your armor by 2. You could use a shield, boost your armor that way. But it is changing your AC calculation. The way those things work, AC calculation is 10 plus your dexterity modifier. Things like unarmored defense just add a number to that, but it's still using that base modification of 10 plus your dexterity modifier plus an additional ability score. If you choose to wear armor, you've altered that number by saying to be 12 plus your dex if it's typically light armor, being a number plus your dexterity modifier if it's rare, or just setting it at a flat number if it's heavy armor, or in this case, the very rare version. All right. Coiling Grasp Tattoo. This is an uncommon one that requires attunement. Long intertwining designs. While it's on your skin, you can, as an action, cause the tattoo to extrude into inky tendrils, which reach for a creature you can see within 15 feet of you. They must make a DC 14 strength save or take 3d6 force damage and be grappled by you. As an action, a creature can escape the grapple by succeeding on a DC 14 athletics check or dexterity acrobatics check. The grapple also ends if you halt it, no action required, if the creature is ever more than 15 feet away from you, or if you use the tattoo on a different creature. So this just gives you, it was an action to do, to basically make them make a check, a saving throw rather, to take force damage and be grappled. As an action, you can escape the grapple. Yeah, so it just gives you another option. It doesn't, like, it would be cool if it could be part of an attack. So, like, if you're a fighter, you could do this, grapple someone, and then hit them. But that's okay. It's still a cool thing. The Eldritch Claw Tattoo, uncommon, requires attunement, obviously. Depicts claw-like forms. While this tattoo is on your skin, your unarmed strikes are considered magical for the purposes of overcoming immunity and resistance to non-magic damage, and you gain a +1 bonus to your attack and damage rolls with it. Also, Eldritch Maul. As a bonus action, you empower the tattoo for a minute. For the duration, each of your melee attacks that can reach a target up to 30 feet away from you as tendrils of ink launch from your weapons or unarmed strike towards the target. In addition, your melee attacks deal an extra 1d6 force damage on a hit. Once used, this bonus action can't be used again until the next dawn. So not only does it make your punching magical and do +1 to attack and damage, you can also, as a bonus action, do this thing that lets your weapons have reach up to 30 feet away. They do an extra d6 force damage, and that lasts for a minute once per day. All right, we have our first legendary tattoo, Blood Fury. Your attacks score a crit on a 19 or 20. When you score a crit against a creature, it takes an extra 46 necrotic damage, and you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to the necrotic damage. And when a creature you can see damages you, you can use your reaction to make a melee attack against that creature with advantage. That's amazing. Fantastic. All right, we have our first common tattoo, which I was hoping maybe the common ones wouldn't require attunement, but this one does. Illuminator's Tattoo. Beautiful calligraphy, images of writing implements, and the like. While this tattoo is on your skin, you can write with your fingertip as if it were an ink pen that never runs out of ink. As an action, you can touch a piece of writing up to 1 page in length and speak a creature's name. The writing becomes invisible to everyone other than you and the named creature for the next 24 hours. Either of you can dismiss the invisibility by touching the script. Once used, this action can't be used until the next dawn. Lifewell Tattoo. This one is rare. Symbols of Rebirth. While this tattoo is on your skin, you have resistance to necrotic damage. When you would be reduced to 0 hit points, you can drop to 1 instead. Once per long rest, or once until the next dawn. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything in these other ones, because sometimes they hide stuff here, like where it says resistance to necrotic damage. It's not like bolded or written anywhere. Did I miss anything before? No, that's the same. Force damage. Oh, I didn't see this with the barrier. You can use a shield and still gain this benefit. So that's important. That is what I assumed, but it's there. And then the resistance. Okay. Moving on from the Illuminator, we did Lifewell Ghost Step. This tattoo has 3 charges. It gains all 3 at dawn. As a bonus action, while it's on your skin, you can expend a charge to become incorporeal until the end of your next turn. For the duration, you gain the following. Resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magic attacks. Can't be grappled or restrained. You can move through creatures and solid objects as if they were difficult terrain. If you end your turn in an object, you take a d10 force damage. If the effect ends while you are inside a solid object, you are instead shunted to the nearest nearby space. Take a d10 force damage for every 5 feet of movement. Masquerade Tattoo, again a common one, requires attunement. As a bonus action, you can shape the tattoo into any color or pattern and move it to any area of your skin. Whatever form it takes, it is always obviously a tattoo. It can range in size from no smaller than a copper piece to an intricate work of art that covers all of your skin. As an action, you can use the tattoo to cast Disguise Self on yourself. Cast the Disguise Self spell on yourself. Once the spell is cast from the tattoo, you can't do it until the next dawn. Then we have the Spell Wrought Tattoo. This one varies. The tattoo contains a single spell of up to 5th level, wrought on your skin by a magic needle. To use the tattoo, you must hold the needle against your skin, or you want to use the tattoo and speak the command word. The needle turns into the ink. Once the tattoo is on your skin, you can cast the spell requiring no material components. The tattoo glows faintly while you cast the spell, and for the spell's duration. Once the spell ends, the tattoo vanishes from your skin. Oh, this one is non-attunement. There you go. The level of the spell in the tattoo determines the spell's saving throw DC, attack bonus, spellcasting ability modifier, its rarity, as shown in the table. So here it is here. So it's any spell. Like you could put in a healing spell or raise dead, whatever. It shows up on you. Let's see. Becomes a tattoo which appears on your skin. You cast the spell that glows faintly while you cast the spell and for its duration. But it's not attunement because it ends when the spell is cast. And lastly, Shadowfell Brand Tattoo, very rare. While it's on your skin, you have advantage on dex stealth checks. When you take damage, you can use your reaction to become shadowy and insubstantial for a moment, reducing the damage you take by half. Once you use this reaction, you can't use it again until the next dawn. So it basically gives you uncanny dodge. And that is it, folks. That is the new spells and new magical tattoos. Well, I'm very excited for the concept of having magical tattoos in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. I think that that's very cool. I'm very excited for that. So I'm curious to see where that's going to go and if that's going to be something that gets published. And as always, who's not pumped for new spells? Summoning spells was not a thing I thought we were going to go because there's very few in the base game. So the fact that they're adding even more is really cool. Yeah, I'm excited about it. What's your favorite part of this new set? I mean, the Blood Fury tattoo is the legendary one, but it's super awesome. But I like the idea of the first one, the Absorbing Tattoo, where it's resistance, but also you can absorb it and heal. Because that also could do a thing where you damage yourself or an ally casts a spell at you to damage you to heal you, essentially. That could be a really cool concept. And the idea of just a tattoo that boosts your AC. I will 100% be adding these into my game. And I do hope that this does become a thing. And please go out and fill out the survey when it eventually comes out for this. Because once they establish that this is something that exists in the universe and is a mechanic that they're allowing, we can, in theory, get more tattoos. Like, we get more magic items. We could potentially get more tattoo options down the road. So if you haven't taken a chance to subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell, I'd greatly appreciate it if you did so. And I will see you all next time.